Hi, warning. The following content you're about to listen to is not rated PG. Uh, Probably rated R. We'll go with R. Um, we're a group of gentlemen. Yes, that's a good word for it. And we're very opinionated, but at least we recognize that our opinions aren't facts, unlike some people in the world, not naming names, just saying they exist. With that said, we hope you enjoy.
Welcome to Far Side of the Pod, everybody. My name's Jordan. We got Ridge,
What's going on, y'all?
and we got Caleb. We got Caleb,
I was just
Man, I
making
have.
you wait.
I was.
and we got Mikey.
Hello.
All right, and we're gonna start off every podcast like we have almost every single one so far with some college football. We're coming down to the end of it. We had a couple games this past weekend. Week, I guess you could say. We had Notre Dame and Penn State. Notre Dame came out on top, 27-24. And we also had Ohio State, Texas, and Ohio State came out on top of their game, setting the national championship game next Monday for Ohio State versus Notre Dame in Atlanta, Georgia. Who you got coming out on top, guys?
I got Ohio State.
I'm going to keep saying don't count out the Fighting Irish, man. I mean, they've done some pretty impossible things before. I think this could very well end up being their year.
I wouldn't put it past it. I mean, the only reason I have a little bit of favoritism towards Ohio State is because that damn receiver, number 4. I can't remember his name, but that kid's too damn good.
Brian Day's still soft.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not a fan of Ryan Day, but that kid,
He's,
it's hard not to be a fan of that
yeah,
kid.
How is he soft?
he cries about everything that people have been saying about him.
Is he crying or is he just putting it out there asking why?
He's whining about it.
I think it don't matter whenever you sit there and beat the people that you're whining about.
I mean, that's fine and dandy and everything, but he still acts soft.
It would be different if he wasn't showing it out on the field, if he wasn't proven. I could understand more so, I reckon.
I mean,
Yeah,
I still
but
don't like the cat, but
that's
that's
still
that's just
deceptive.
that's just a personal
If he
belief.
was.
But Mikey, you're the only person that says you don't know. So you haven't said your opinion. Who you think's gonna win?
I don't want to count anyone out, but it looks like, at least from my point of view, that Ohio State might have this one.
I guess we will have to see on that one. Like I said, it's next Monday, so we won't know until after the next podcast. But hell, at least we got some NFL football, which that's what we're gonna go over to real quick. Today started the playoffs in the first round of the wild card. Um, so the first game we had the Chargers versus the Texans, and the Texans pulled out, beat them 32-12. I thought the Chargers were going to somehow win this, but
31. Wait, what?
32-12.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, somehow I thought the Chargers were going to somehow pull it off, but Justin Herbert had like 3 interceptions and only 100 and something passing yards and no passing touchdowns, so that'll do it. Then, sorry, Caleb, but the Ravens beat the Steelers 28-14.
Yeah, I mean, we at least showed a little bit of fight in the end, but we just it's a rivalry game. It's part of it.
Yeah, it's. I mean,
Hard to do anything whenever your quarterback is Russell.
Yeah, but I mean, he hasn't done bad up until really that game.
I thought y'all were starting Justin Fields. What happened to that?
Yeah, I don't know how. Well, I mean, we were very, very confused, to find out that Russell was going to be lead man there, and it was definitely not something we were, hoping we would do. And he showed some signs of life, and we were like, okay, we'll see. Guess let it ride, and once again put out in the playoffs.
Well, Then today we had the Broncos versus the Bills, and the Bills mollywopped the Broncos 31-7. I don't know what's wrong with me
It's
this
just
year, boys. I mean, I guess the Ravens beating the Steelers, but I've been wrong on the Chargers beating the Texans and the Broncos beating the Bills. I thought the Broncos was going to be the dark horse of the game and pull it out over the Bills, but Josh
their
Allen.
horse isn't dark though.
Hey, look, man. Don't maybe bring up the horse at the Denver International Airport, all right?
That's a whole nother podcast 50 years
No
down the road
one,
from now, okay?
no one, not a soul. The Bills, dude. Let's kill the horse.
But no, apparently Josh Allen had a perfect passer rating today, so that would explain why. And the game that literally just had ended a few minutes ago, Eagles beat the Packers 22-10. So that moves them up. The only two games that I know of that are happening next week so far is I know we're getting the Texans versus the Chiefs and we're getting the Ravens versus the Bills. I'm guessing whoever wins between the Commanders and the Bucks will go to play the Lions. Then I guess whoever wins between the Vikings and the Rams will play the Eagles. Or vice versa. I don't know. But
I'm really going for the Rams this year.
The Rams?
Yeah, I'd like to see Matthew Stafford take one.
Why the Rams?
Matthew Stafford.
All right.
Matthew Stafford won a ring like 2 years ago.
Yeah, but I
Not
don't want to
3
get the
years
Chiefs.
ago.
Yeah, I really don't want the Chiefs to get a three-peat.
Okay, so pull for the Rams out of everyone on this fucking
Well, I'm not going to
list.
pull for fucking Baltimore.
He's not going to pull for Baltimore. He's a
Hell no.
Steelers fan.
Okay, you still have the Bills, the Eagles.
What about the Lions?
Whoever comes out of
I'd
the
pull for the Eagles
Bucks.
probably before I'd pull for the Rams, yeah, but
What about the Lions?
You got the Lions, you got the Texans.
Look, man,
let's go with the Texans.
Hell, you can still say that you got a fantasy shot with the Vikings possibly making a third appearance with the Lions.
Look, man,
I know that.
As a Chiefs fan, I'm going for the Super Bowl to be the Ravens and the Lions.
Do what?
I'm looking at Ravens and the Lions for the Super Bowl. That's what my guess is. That's what it's been since like the beginning of the year.
Wow.
I don't know. I can't give you a 100% on who I think is going to win the Super Bowl, but yeah.
I am shocked. I kind of figured that you'd say that you was hoping that your team would pull the three-peat on this.
I mean, look, if we make the Super Bowl, then cool. I'll cheer for my team, but there's only two other teams in the league that is like I want to see them win a ring as well, and that's the Ravens and the Lions. But I will say
that's
this.
fine.
I will say this. If we make it to the Super Bowl against the Lions, I want the Lions to win. Because one, my wife's from Michigan. And the Lions have never won a Super Bowl. So I just think that would be awesome to see.
Well, neither have the Vikings.
I mean, if the Vikings make it, good for them, brother.
Listen, if they make it, that's a Cinderella story of fucking the NFL this year.
For sure.
For us to have to face off against the Lions 3 separate times, and the past 2 times already, we've lost. And if we magically beat them to go to the Super Bowl, that's the Cinderella story in of itself, just about. But if we can do that and then win the Super Bowl, yeah, that's a Cinderella story. Now, am I confident in it? Absolutely not. Sam Darnold, I think, has already proven, at least to me, that he ain't good underneath the spotlight like that, or the limelight, whatever kind of light you want to put him under.
Right.
Whenever it comes to the bigger stage, he's not ready to take on the bigger stages.
That's understandable. I mean, it's Sam Darnold. I mean, I know that he's had a career season, but he's still got a lot to prove. We haven't seen him in the playoffs yet, so I got you. I understand you on that. Honestly, with how this year has turned out, I wouldn't be mad at seeing any of the teams left win. Honestly, there's not a team left on the list that I despise. So we'll just have to see how
I
that.
despise the Packers, so
Well, they
I'm
got
glad
knocked
to
out,
see them
so
fall.
they got
And I
knocked.
despise the Ravens out of the group.
Well, brother, you got some hoping to do. That's all I gotta
Yeah,
say.
no.
It's kind of hard to go against them where they have Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson
That's gotta be
in the
the.
backfield.
Hey, look, hey, differences aside, you gotta admit Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry being in the backfield. Like, you imagine lining up against a quarterback like Lamar Jackson and a running back like Derrick Henry. To me that's so fucking scary. Like
Yeah.
first of all, that's a 6'3", 250-pound running back. Then you got the fastest quarterback in NFL history. I mean, Jesus Christ, that's and the dude has proven this year that he is not. I mean, you know how everybody calls him a running back, and that's so stupid. Now I hate that art. I hate people saying that because it is so stupid. And
Calling who a running back?
a lot of people call Lamar Jackson a running back
Uh,
because he can run.
well, I mean, he scrambles like nobody's business,
But that motherfucker can throw dots too, though.
but I will give him the fact that if it wouldn't be for him scrambling, he wouldn't get as far as he has.
That's a fact. But another argument with that is look at how many rushing touchdowns Lamar Jackson has, and look at how many rushing touchdowns Josh Allen has. Lamar has like 3 rushing touchdowns, if I'm not wrong. And I don't know if he scored one this game or not, but and Josh Allen has like 11 because they'll do a bunch of like tush push or have him run in the ball within the 5 yards or whatever. But and it's like, Lamar could have had all the rushing touchdowns he wanted this year, but he threw that ball a lot, and he pretty much ended the season with one of the highest passer ratings in NFL history. So, I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole argument between who's the MVP between him and Josh Allen. I'm going Lamar Jackson all day, but I'm not going to get too deep into it because I could talk for hours upon it. But yeah, tonight we're finishing up. Not finishing up because there's a game tomorrow, but we got the Commanders versus the Bucks, and we got the Vikings versus the Rams. Um, they can go either way for me, but I'd like to see the Commanders win, and I'd like to see the Vikings win.
Thank
So,
you.
so then next week we start the divisional round. Like I said, we already got Texans versus Chiefs and Ravens versus Bills, so we'll have to see how the rest of it fills out next week. Okay, so on to our next topic. Raw on Netflix. Last Monday we had the premiere episode of Monday Night Raw on Netflix, and I tell y'all, at least for me, it was a banger. Like,
Dude, it was like a miniature WrestleMania they had,
yeah,
you
it
know.
was
It was
nuts.
it was a fantastic show.
I tell you, I thought it was great. Honestly, I thought the stage was going to be a little bit more, but I like the simplicity, and I like that it's a little different than what it was. But like, it's good enough. I just thought it'd be a little bit more.
I don't really know if I care for the ring mat as much as I thought. It's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I mean, all the
Uh,
advertisements on it throws me off a little bit, but
yeah,
if
and
it was just a
also, I
straight
mean,
black, I'd be more all right with it. But
well, and I understand they're trying to. It's mimicking UFC a little bit, you know, the partnership, and I get that. But like, I still wish we would have went back to the red, white, and blue ropes.
I mean, you are old school though.
But I mean, come on, tell me that wouldn't look good on a blacked out mat on the bottom. You know, I mean, that would just it would pop. It would be showy enough, but it wouldn't. I
I,
feel like if it didn't have the advertisements on the mat, then I feel like it would be just perfect.
I feel like. I mean, I understand the red, white, and blue ropes, but I feel like that's on special occasions. And when it's Raw, when their colors is just red, black, and white, I think
Then it needs
I don't think there's need
red
for a blue.
ropes.
I mean, red ropes, yes. Like
Now Saturday night main event, absolutely red, white, and blue ropes.
yeah,
That's like
yeah.
you do
I was gonna,
something like that. That
I,
would make sense there too.
I was gonna say that that should be like a Saturday night main event thing.
Yeah.
But Ridge, do you have the list of the matches
Yeah, I got a list.
all right? Tell us. Let's go.
All right.
Let's go one by one and give our ideas or our thoughts on the matches.
So, okay, so real quick, let me just throw this out here since we were already talking about the mat. To me, after like a couple of minutes in the first match, I quit paying attention to it. The only thing that caught my eye was the Fortnite in the middle of it, and of course
Same thing. Like every time I saw it, I was like, Fortnite.
but
This is
with
not
that
what
also.
they put Solo Sokoa in Fortnite or Jacob Foster.
I was about to say, with that, when are we getting our WWE Fortnite skins?
There is.
Yeah, I know, right?
If y'all are going to be running as a main advertiser out there, let's get some skins in Fortnite.
There's a few WWE skins.
Not at the moment, there sure ain't.
Yeah, there's Bianca
there's-
Belair, there's Becky Lynch, there's John Cena.
If I go into the shop right now, is what I'm meaning.
Well, I mean, not right now. They had
Right
them
now,
on
I'm not going to find it, but that's what I'm meaning is we just now they've run this promotion. Now, I imagine that's here moving forward.
Yeah.
It's something that you see right now, and to the people that maybe play Fortnite more than they have watched wrestling, will think, "Oh, these two are a thing now. Okay, let me go see if they got a skin." They go into a shop. What do they not see?
I mean, they definitely should have put at least put the skins in the shop the night of Raw.
They should have put in Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Yes.
No, they shouldn't have. No,
Yes.
they shouldn't have. Fuck Hulk Hogan. All right, we'll get into that after we run through this recap. So let me do this real quick. All right. So first match we had was Roman Reigns going up against Solo Sikoa in the Bloodline Rules match, and Roman came out on top.
Tribal Combat.
Yeah, the Tribal Combat match. I thought that was a fantastic match, and I'm
Dude,
glad. I'm glad that
the
they had Roman
freaking
win.
shoes.
Yeah, I'm glad they had Roman win, and he was wearing the Kobe's.
Those Kobe's were sick too.
That shit was so splendid.
I mean, gorgeous shoes.
But hey,
All right.
I don't know if y'all heard, but Roman said that he was auctioning off his shoes, and
Yeah, he like autographed them.
well, he's auctioning them off and putting the proceeds to like the homeless, or I can't remember what it was. It was like Children's Hospital or something.
So it's something to do with like I think like the Kobe Foundation or whatever, the Kobe and Gigi Foundation thing.
Probably. But go ahead, Ridge.
That and later on, another side note with Roman is that later on in the show we had him and Paul Heyman tease WWE 2K25. So I imagine that it's either going to be him as the cover by himself now, or it's going to be the Bloodline.
I have a feeling it'll be
one
him,
of the two.
I have a feeling that it'll be him, but they'll probably have like a Bloodline edition or something like that.
All right. So after the Roman match, we had our only title defense for the night, and that was Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan, and Rhea came out on that one.
What are you talking
Mommy's
about?
always on top.
Mommy's always on top, brother.
Always on top.
I need y'all to like step out the goon cave. I hear you, but holy Jesus,
Mommy is.
that is a
always on
married
top.
woman y'all are talking about.
And I'm a married man.
And everyone
I'm
talks
not-
about
I
it.
don't
And you
know.
can't escape it until if she changes from if that ever leaves her, which I doubt it will,
It won't.
you won't be able to escape it.
It won't because she said herself that being Rhea Ripley helps her be herself because she in an interview she talked about how in person she's very shy and all that jazz, but being really Rhea Ripley has helped her really become herself and be more not so nervous and
The Impulsive podcast by chance interview with her.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was figuring.
No,
I watched that episode too.
No, when I heard her said that it was earlier on. I can't even remember what the podcast was, but yeah, she did say it on the Impulsive as well. But
All right.
great match. Great match.
Yeah, it was. It was a good match.
But go ahead.
Yeah, no, that was a really good match.
Bring up the next part.
And then after that, we dove into the next match, which was Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre, and Jey Uso
Well,
beat Drew McIntyre.
don't forget Undertaker coming out at the end of Rhea's
Oh, yeah.
match.
That was,
Brother,
like,
if
so needed.
all I'm doing is running through the matches, if you want to, we can go back through there because we also skipped over The Rock coming out at the very beginning, John Cena coming out.
Yep.
We hopped and skipped over a few things. All I'm doing is running down
You're good, bro.
all the matches.
You're good. Keep going.
So my only nitpick with that was that we cut the celebration short for Jey Uso and cut Drew McIntyre sulking in it.
Yeah.
We cut it too short just for a promo of Gunther, him not even being there. So it was kind of pointless to me.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I did not care for that. And then to wrap it up for the main event, we had CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, and CM Punk picked up the win.
And I will say that match was a fucking heater, dude. I mean,
Slobber knocker.
every match on this card was fantastic, but that match I loved it, man. I mean,
Yeah, it was good.
like Caleb was saying, it felt like a mini WrestleMania, and this was definitely a WrestleMania level match. And I'm glad that they made it the main event. At first, it was a little weird, for the Tribal Combat match not to be the main event, but it made sense. But they put on a show, man. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah, they put on a great show.
Okay, so for me, the way I see it is if I looked at it two different ways, okay, and I had to sleep on it too, and then come back into reviewing it and watching snippets of it here and there. So for me, as an average going fan that is coming into it new,
Right.
it was a 9 out of 10 show, right?
Right.
But as a follower of the product and being more so into wrestling, it's about 75% show to me.
What knocked
Just
it down
because
for you?
what knocked it down was the simple fact of just running over and over and over that we're on Netflix. Thank you, Netflix. That knocked it down a few pegs.
Yeah, no, you're right, because they showed the Netflix people like 2 or 3 times, and it was like,
I mean, we had Triple H say we're on Netflix, and then right after that, we had The Rock come out. We're on Netflix, and after a couple of matches, we had Cena come out. Hey, did you know we're on Netflix now?
I mean,
don't get me wrong. I enjoy seeing them coming out, but we already know we're in Netflix. Oh, not to mention that the announcers are also telling us every single match that we are live on Netflix. Now, I understand occasionally saying it, though, as an announcer for people that might be just now tuning in, but saying it in one promo from Triple H and then getting it again from The Rock
yeah.
is kind of annoying. Also, so far from what I hear, I'm the only one. I didn't care for seeing Hulk Hogan.
Apparently nobody did.
No one cared for it in the audience. It's going to become the new thing if he comes out anymore, which from what I've heard he won't because Netflix didn't like it. Because everyone was booing him during the Raw debut.
Yeah.
By the way, it was on Netflix, just in case you don't remember.
Now,
All I did during that whole part was mute it.
now the
And I'd look up occasionally to see if he was there still or not. Now, I understand it.
The reason
Go
why I
ahead.
kept saying it was on Netflix, and I know it was annoying after a while, but I mean, one, for branding, of course, but two, you got to think of how big Raw on Netflix is, because do you know that they had 4.9 million views that night?
Okay, but we're still saying this is so huge. On Netflix.
But
Yes, we know we're on Netflix. We had to click on our Netflix to get in to watch
Well, I
this
mean,
show.
I guess the same argument can be made for them being on USA and saying we're live back here in this dome on USA.
But they don't run a fucking promo with Triple H and The Rock back to back saying thank you to USA for having us on USA.
Now, it was hilarious whenever he was like, there better not be no damn lagging or I'll go all Squid Games on your ass.
Oh yeah, he said better not be any glitching.
That was, but like I said, and these are nitpicks just for me. If I'm as a wrestling fan that has watched the product multiple times,
I can understand where you're coming from.
And also, to me, I feel like with only 4 matches, I feel like we could have had at least 5.
Yeah, but it looks like they're going with the 4-match format from here on out. Sadly.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm looking forward to it again, though.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, because it's another banger of a lineup.
Now, you know what's awesome though? They did say that with Raw being on Netflix, there's no time restraints. Like,
right? But
yeah, it can just keep running if it has to.
But for them to have also pushed that, because he said it before this show,
right?
I mean, it already felt like it was okay. We have 3 hours,
yeah.
So we're going to time restrain it.
It did feel a little rushed. Like I do get that. It did feel a little rushed. Like they could have, pulled things out a little more. Like you said, give more heat between the Jay and Drew match and everything. But one thing. Oh, hold on. Before I mention that, I'm gonna go back to the Hulk Hogan thing real quick. I get them bringing Hogan was supposed to be a big thing because it's Hulk Hogan, but and I understand why the crowd would boo him the way they did. But Calvin mentioned something to me that just like it makes sense. As he said, no matter what Hogan has done, you can't tell me that everybody in that crowd would have not accepted an autograph from him. Like he said,
I wouldn't have.
I mean, I'm not saying you would have. I'm just saying everybody in that crowd, and I'm not. And he's not saying that everybody would have. He's saying like he just thinks that a lot of the hate was forced by the crowd. He's not saying.
Well, I mean, number one, they're in L.A. Okay, he's a very outspoken person, so everyone kind of knew where he stood. So, and L.A. is not really known for thinking the way that he does politically. So that plays a small factor in it. Of course, he's done some horrible shit over the years. He hasn't done, good stuff. He has apologized for that stuff, and he doesn't do those things anymore. I get why people don't like him, but you've got to respect the man that literally made the WWF back in those days.
I mean,
you don't have to.
You don't have.
I mean, you kind of have. You have to. I mean,
no,
that
you
dude
don't.
literally made.
When it comes to racism,
made wrestling, then
when it comes to racism,
you don't have to do shit.
When it comes to racism, Caleb, that's a big notch.
That's different. That's different.
Okay, but again, you don't have to.
That's what we're talking about, Hulk Hogan. That's why everybody was booing him, because he's openly, like, he's said some pretty racist stuff in the past.
Well, I mean, the thing is he did say some pretty racist stuff. He did apologize for all those things years later and said, "I'm not like that anymore." Saying I'm sorry for saying some racist things ain't going to end a lot of things, though. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to make it better because society is that way. They don't like to give second chances. And, I'm not defending him, but I'm going to say that regardless, the guy was, made wrestling, and you have to respect that at least. So
here,
go ahead, Rich. My bad.
Here's my other 2 things on this, okay? Other than the fact of, he had some hiccups in his life for sure. Okay. He was only there because of his beer.
Yeah. Literally.
WWE, if you wanted to advertise a beer, you should just grab Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Just my own personal opinion on the beer to grab. I don't think a lot of people are going to drink the Hulk Hogan beer. So that obviously, it was in L.A. You should have known that was going to be a bad hiccup having him come out in L.A.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe not. Maybe you got blinded by the fact of, oh, it's wrestling fans. They're not going to, they're not going to think a thing about it. Well, we're people too, and we are going to remember it.
If this was in Tampa, Florida, I could understand him coming out more because that's his his home. But like you said, they should have. First of all, could you imagine the pop they would have got if Stone Cold came out?
Oh yeah, it would have been 10 times better for them. But also, the last thing I'll say real quick is that the majority of the crowd was booing. I seen a few people confused on it up front,
right,
that were clapping, but they saw everybody else was booing. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it just became, oh, this is the thing everybody's going to do. So I'm going to join in too and just go ahead and start booing him because it looks like that's the fun thing to do right now.
Well, that's what Calvin was mentioning is like a couple people started booing, so the whole crowd started booing.
You know what I think? I think he should double down, and the next time he decides to come out in his Hollywood Hogan gear from the NWO.
Yeah.
Next time there won't be a next time.
It's good heat at that point.
Sadly,
he's got the heat.
Next time there won't be a next time.
Yeah, there sadly probably won't be.
Netflix won't let him come out. I can go ahead and tell you that much because of how bad that happened on the debut. That was a bad look for Netflix. They've already talked about it. You can look on like Wrestle Talk and all that. Raw didn't, or not Raw, but Netflix did not like that. They thought it was going to be good too, but it was not. They didn't think about it neither.
Well, I mean,
I'm pretty sure they probably didn't really know.
They did not think that through.
They probably didn't know, though, because I doubt all of them are wrestling stands. It looked like one of them was a true wrestling fan. Other than that, the others, not as much. So they probably didn't even know that much about him. But they sure the fuck found out, and they sure the fuck ain't going to let him come back out. They might advertise it still, and they might talk about it, but they won't have him come back out.
I think if they're going to ever have him come back out, it has to be southeast areas.
Yeah.
You might get him
like
on
that
Raw.
There. That's acceptable because he'd be way more accepted.
You mean SmackDown?
Probably not now. Just because of the fact that everyone that is a wrestling fan that will be at these shows have heard him get booed. Yeah. So what are they going to do? They're going to boo.
It's kind of like the John Cena effect when you think about it. I mean, it's not entirely like it, but it's like, remember when The Rock came back and started the whole Fruity Pebbles movement and everybody started booing John Cena just because it was cool to boo John Cena?
Yep, because we all laughed at the Fruity Pebbles thing.
So that, yeah, I could see that being a problem. But either way, I understand. I get where you're coming from, Rich, and I would personally probably give the show an 8.5 just from my standpoint. But that's just because I felt like parts were a little rushed. But that's my only argument with it. I mean, I'm glad that there was no lagging. I'm glad there was no hiccups on the the production side of it.
That was kind of the big thing for me with that, was whether or not it was going to be able to handle all the hundreds of millions of people that were actually watching it at that time.
Now, I do got to bring up, how about Travis Scott coming out with Jay with a blunt in his hand?
Not smoking that blunt, by the way.
Smoking said blunt, and literally went to go hand it to Jay as they was walking out, and he said, nah.
Yeah, Triple H said later in the post interview, he was like, I'm really, really glad that Jey Uso decided just to say no.
Yeah, he said that could have gone a totally different way, and thank God Jay didn't think it. And there was like a post interview or something like that with Jay, and he was like, "Look, you lucky we was on live TV because
Oh yeah, I knew he would, and that's why I was like, if he wasn't on live TV, I know if it was like a house show and that was going on, he would have took that.
And apparently they have plans with Travis Scott coming up, so I wonder what those are. I know 4x4 is going to be the theme song of Raw now, but
he's got his own belt and everything. He's always been a wrestling fan, so
one of his nicknames is Cactus Jack. So
yeah,
he might be something that you will see at like Mania if I had to wild guess it, and SummerSlam, and different big pay-per-views like that.
Right. But anybody
So
else? Oh, go ahead, Mikey. Go ahead, Mikey.
I wanted to get my 2 cents. I was listening to everything, just everybody talk, gathering all opinions from the three of you guys, but I want to give my 2 cents
Okay.
on the whole show. I think, having watched it, I think the show's a solid 9.
Right.
But to touch up on a few specific topics that got covered as we were talking, as far as everyone constantly saying thank you, Netflix, you have to look at that from a pragmatic point of view. Netflix is currently funneling that company so much fucking money. So much money. Buku loads of money that, of course, every other 10 minutes they're going to glaze the people that are force feeding them cash.
Yeah.
That's just corporate shit. As much as I hate corporate shit as anybody else, you got to recognize game for game. I hate to be wrong, but I got to call it like I see it.
Yeah.
It's so I get it. That's not even negative. Like, I'm gonna keep it real with you, dog. I would also glaze Netflix constantly if they're force feeding my company millions of dollars.
Yeah.
As far as Hulk Hogan goes, that man lost in the court of public opinion forever ago, and you can change your ways. This is not a knock against Hulk as he is today. I don't know the man, frankly. I don't care. You can do things in your past that mess up, and you can lose in the court of public opinion. Now, as far as the wider court of public opinion, like the entire fan base of WWE, some people might still remember exactly what he said and how he acted. Others may not, but they know that he did some things and said some things that were pretty unsavory to ethnic groups, regardless. That doesn't go away, but at some point it does become the personal bias of someone whoever's pointing the finger. Right? If you apologize and you make moves to be better, to grow in character, and to move past what you were, that is all good karma and goodwill towards you. If at that point there are people who are unwilling to forgive you because they feel as if you have slighted them somehow, that's on them. It really does end up as if you point a finger, there's at least 3 and a thumb pointing back at you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Hulk's a bad guy. I'm saying if they wanted to promote beer, Stone Cold would have been the better option, hands down. But I get it.
Word.
I loved the tribal combat match. That shit was gas. I loved watching Dominic get kicked in the cojones. I was giddy. I was giggling watching Jay come out, and then Travis was just like, I have disbelief. Like I was giggling. I thought it was really funny. I did think it felt kind of clipped there at the end when it was like, and here's a promo for a guy who's not here. And I was like, I wanted to watch the yeet down. I wanted to, okay. And lastly, CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. That shit was immaculate. That was a barn burner, baby. That shit was so good.
Word. So is
All
that,
right, so
I was
Yep.
about to ask if anybody else had anything else to say on the event.
yep, I got I got 2 things and one's a good little chunk. All right.
Okay.
So my first thing is the one thing that we didn't get to see was that after the Punk versus Rollins feud was that Punk entered himself for the draft, or not for the draft, the Rumble,
Right.
and we didn't really talk about it all that much, but John Cena did return and also put his name in for the Royal Rumble.
Word.
So with that, I have my own little fantasy booking for him. So
Detail.
all right. So obviously, and it's going to what I got's just going to jump through a few things. So we're not going to go match to match to match. All right, but this is for his career. Okay. All right. So it starts at the Royal Rumble. He goes into the Rumble. Don't know what number. I'd say 17 just because it makes sense because he's chasing after the 17th, right? He's chasing that 17th title. He goes in. He's in, doing good. Logan Paul comes in too and eliminates John Cena. So there goes that. And then we get to Elimination Chamber. He enters the Elimination Chamber, but guess who else also enters into Elimination Chamber?
Logan Paul.
Logan Paul. And gets eliminated by Logan Paul. Gets to Mania. Faces Logan Paul. Picks up the win against him at Mania. So, so far so good. Skip ahead some shows. We get to Money in the Bank. Logan Paul and Cena are both in it. Logan almost wins, but Cena pushes him off the ladder. Cena climbs up and wins the briefcase. At SummerSlam, Cena tries to cash in, but fails due to interference from Logan Paul. At Saturday Night Main Event, the Saturday Night Main Event, wherever it's at, he tries again, fails, and it's all because of Logan Paul again. We get to Crown Jewel, and it's a match between Gunther versus just someone. I don't know. Throw a name in there. That's who it is. They're in a steel cage match for the title. Gunther comes out on top, wins the title still, but shortly after, Cena runs in, cashes in, closes the gate, does his finisher on Gunther, wins the title. After that, he holds it all the way to that next Saturday Night Main Event, which that one is the last closest thing to a pay-per-view that we're going to have for that year. And at that Saturday Night Main Event, he loses that title to none other than Logan Paul for his final match of 2025. And for good. That's his last match. And the reason why I booked it this way is because it seems like that'd be something that Netflix would like. I know Logan wants that title. So what better way than to have him troll Cena the whole year?
I'm telling you right now, Ridge, that's not going to happen. You know what? We want to know why? And I'm not bashing on your fantasy booking. I'm just telling you why. Because Logan Paul has openly said that he wants to face John Cena at WrestleMania. And Triple H already told him no. Because
watch for the time. What if Cena says in, like, let's say it's at a Raw or something, that he wants Logan at Mania?
But why would we have John Cena's final WrestleMania be against Logan Paul?
Why would we have his last WrestleMania be against Cody Rhodes?
Passing of the torch.
Because he's holding a title?
Passing of the torch.
Not really if he loses.
Here's the thing.
Because the way it sounds right now, they want him to struggle to even get to the title.
Yes.
Right? Because he don't think he's going to get there, so he has to enter into the Royal Rumble. He might also have to enter into the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
He might not even win either one of those. So if he doesn't, I agree
with you on those.
So if he doesn't, then what's he going to do at Mania? Because he ain't going to get the title shots.
Well, from what I'm hearing, from what I've seen, and I'm probable people on X, and I followed these wrestling accounts for a while, and they're normally right. I've never seen them wrong, but apparently to them, it's looking like it's going to be Seth Rollins versus Gunther and John Cena versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania.
Right, and it very well could be.
That's what I'm saying it is right now.
Right, but I'm saying, and that's the reason why it's fantasy too.
Right. Of course, like that's why I'm not bashing on you.
Right, but But if he, okay, and here's another little wrench for that. As far as we know, he's not, but we don't know 100% if The Rock's not going to end up being at Mania.
Right.
Because if he can make it, he's going to make it. And that throws a wrench into all the plans.
True.
So, what if, though, and I guess a better way to look at it, too, is this is a what if case scenario. What if John Cena doesn't get the Rumble win, can't get Elimination Chamber? What the fuck's he going to do at Mania? And what if he says out in front of the audience, in front of a sold out Raw, he tells Triple H he wants Logan because Logan's been a thorn in his side this whole fucking time. And yet he still is this whole way through until we get down to the last, until we get to Crown Jewel. He's not really there, but then comes back around.
I don't know how I'd feel about it, man. I mean,
Well, it's just, like I said, it's a good way to piss somebody off too,
right,
because
yeah, for sure.
that's to give Logan Paul the ultimate heel run against Cena.
I'm not trying to bash your fantasy book, and I'm sorry if I'm coming off as that, but
No,
I'm just saying. I mean, yes. Do I see John Cena facing Logan Paul in this next year? Yes, I do. But I don't think it's going to be like at Mania. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be like Crown Jewel. Like, for real, that's when I think Logan Paul will face Cena. I mean, it could be beforehand or SummerSlam, but that's just what I feel. I don't think Cena will win the Rumble, but I do think he'll win the Elimination Chamber. That's just like that's what I've been saying for a little bit now, like how I think it was going to go down. But if some way,
that's a more realistic booking.
Right, in some way, in some form or fashion, if John Cena doesn't get a title shot at Mania, I think it'll be against Randy. Just because Randy Orton is
the Legend Killer takes another.
Randy Orton is John Cena's biggest rival, and that's like, I'm not the only one saying that. Like, even they say that, and they've even said when John Cena gets put in the Hall of Fame, they've asked who inducts him, and even John Cena himself has said Randy Orton.
Well, to induct him, that's not necessarily who gives him his last match, neither.
Well, no, I'm not saying his last match. I'm just saying his last match at Mania. And
Possibly.
I'm not saying like that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying like if he doesn't get the title match at Mania, that's what I think will happen.
Right.
If anything else, somehow make the Cena versus Rock, but that doesn't make sense to me. So
yeah.
If the Rock's facing anybody, be Roman. But honestly,
I mean that or Cena versus Punk.
Yeah, that too. I could see that too. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they rehashed him versus Seth if Seth doesn't get the title match as well.
Oh yeah, I definitely think that we'll see those two going at it for a while.
My back.
But either way, does anybody else got anything else to say about wrestling? Okay. I guess not.
I don't.
All right, so on to the next topic, and this is going to be a sensitive topic for me. We are pretty much, it's not like 100% confirmed yet, but it's pretty much known that they are looking to recast T'Challa. And it was a big conversation whenever Wakanda Forever was being talked about, and after Chadwick Boseman had passed away. And to get the record straight, real quick, guys, is if you don't know me, Chadwick Boseman was my favorite actor of all time. You can ask everybody in this podcast. I've stated it plenty of times on how much I love Chadwick Boseman. Hell, ask Mikey. When we went and watched Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Mikey was literally like trying to comfort me the whole movie because I was bawling the whole movie.
Yeah.
So,
man, but it was an emotional movie.
Oh
But
yeah.
but Chadwick Boseman meant a lot to me more than he does a lot of people. I mean, ever since his first movie, 42, I've been a fan. Um, the thing, but my thing is I think it's the right thing to do to recast T'Challa, and here's why. Now, in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, I think they did it right on having him pass away and everything, and like bringing in Shuri's story and everything. But here's the catch: if they're recasting T'Challa, it's because T'Challa's going to show up in Secret Wars and or Doomsday or both, right? So we're getting a multiversal T'Challa. Like there's no way that we're going to have, the 616 T'Challa, but we're getting a different universe as T'Challa. So one, it can make it like it'll help it make more sense that it's not our T'Challa. But it's the fact of it's hard having the Black Panther without it being T'Challa, whether it's his son or himself. I just like I love Shuri and I thought she did fantastic in Wakanda Forever, but it's just not the same in my opinion. I mean, yeah, it's such a sensitive subject with Chadwick Boseman passing on and everything, but I just think it's it means a lot more to have T'Challa as the Black Panther. And yeah, it sucks that they have to recast it, but I want to see T'Challa back as the Black Panther myself. And in his honor, we need somebody that'll do the role just as good. I mean, I'm not going to say better because that's so out in the park, buddy. Like you're going to have to do some crazy shit to be better than him at this role. But I think that it's the smart thing to do, especially with it being multiversal. And I just hope they do it right. Ridge, I'll go ahead and let you put your piece on it.
All right. You've pretty much touched on it pretty damn well, if I do say so myself. From what I've heard too, this new T'Challa or whatever they're doing for the recasting of Black Panther, which will just be T'Challa. I don't know why I even said that. Uh, he's also going to be taking on the mantle in Black Panther 3 as well. My question, or a question I have, is does this not undermine what happened in Wakanda Forever?
What do you mean, him dying or her Shuri
No, no. So
or Shuri becoming
spoilers.
Black Panther?
No, not even that. So spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it. If you haven't, that's on you. Um, at the end, a young, we get the young T'Challa,
Right, his son.
T'Challa's son. You're
Right.
right. So doesn't that undermine that what happened right there?
Well, this is the thing, and I literally just had thought about it. I mean, what if people saw like a leak casting call or something like that, and they saw T'Challa on it, and they started to freak out? What if this is just Black Panther's son, but older? I mean, think about
Well,
it. When we saw him in Wakanda Forever, that was a few years ago.
right.
And we still got a couple of
So
years till we could see him. I mean, they can make it make sense.
I heard from what I've picked up, it came from Jeff Snyder, and he said it's a multiverse.
Right, right.
It's a completely different one coming from the multiverse. So it's not even going to be this young T'Challa, the way they're making it sound. Would it not be? Wouldn't it just be easier though to do the same thing that they're going to, from what I've heard, to do with the young Franklin Richards and just age him up, do a time jump right here like they've done with, because they did it in the end game. We had a time jump right there.
Right.
And if we're going to have a time jump with the Fantastic Four
And Doomsday and all that
from
jazz.
from young Franklin going from, I think he's starting out at like 9 or 10 and hopping up to 13 by then, which isn't that big of a jump, don't get me wrong.
But yeah, I get what you're saying.
How many years ago did we see the young T'Challa versus to whenever we finally get to Endgame or Secret Wars, where he pops up first, and there could be a time jump in that as well. So that way we can already just have him aged up. I mean, I understand wanting to bring in somebody else from, let's say, a different universe to have, if they're going with a Dark Avengers or something, right?
Right.
I understand doing that too, but to me, if we're going to see this Black Panther go into the Black Panther 3, I'd rather just take the young T'Challa that we have right now and just age him up. Because especially if we're going into the shit, why did it leave him on? The not multiverse, we're in that.
Yeah,
Into the mutant phase?
right, so they can have the storyline between him and Storm.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean
I could understand that.
That would work out perfect, especially if we're going into that. So why
Right.
not just do that?
I can rock with that. You got any more to say on it?
That's all I got on that.
All right, Caleb, what's your thoughts on this, bro?
I mean, it's it's to me. I love the movies, but I don't know if I feel if it's right to recast him. If it is just his son, though, I mean, I'm cool with that. That would work. But recasting him, unless he was from a different universe, would just feel wrong.
I mean, that's the thing that we're saying, that it's going to be a multiverse. Like, it's going to be a different universe as T'Challa. It's just, like...
That's what they're saying at least.
Yeah.
But for all we know, too, it could just be that we get him aged up. Which,
Yeah, it could be his
like
son.
I said, I think that'd be easier.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be easier to do his son, and it would make more sense, and we wouldn't have to, I guess, what some people would say is dishonor Chad's legacy.
Right.
But, I mean, either way, I don't think it's dishonoring his legacy.
Well, I don't think it necessarily would dishonor him, but I also think, too, if we do that,
It would help.
it will help the story to flow more so because we already got introduced to young T'Challa.
Yeah.
So why not just show it by Secret Wars at the latest?
Yeah, I agree.
Him aged up to 18.
Well, think
Is that
about,
fair?
Well, no, you're way fair actually, because I mean, think about it. Secret Wars, takes place. Well, not takes place, but it comes out in 27. Then Wakanda Forever came out in 2022. So that's 5 years already, and when we see him in the movie, we don't get a clear age, but he's definitely at least, I would say, 7 or 8.
I honestly thought he was like 10 right there.
I mean, he could have been, but I'm just thinking of I'm thinking about the timeline, and
Right. There's no telling.
People being blipped for 5 years and all that jazz.
Right.
And honestly, yeah, he could have been 3 by the time that T'Challa passed away too, because I mean, I think it was 3 years after Endgame that Black Panther 2 came out. So who knows? Who knows? He could have been born in the middle of people being blipped away as well.
He could have been a part of the blip.
He could have. But no, I agree with you. Mikey, what do you think?
I think, like, I see the like the statement Rich was making, right? Like, does this not thwart the whole purpose of Wakanda Forever? And no, it doesn't, not to me, because it doesn't, because multiverse, right? Like, I'm with Jordan here. We could probably see either, in Doom or Secret Wars, another King of Wakanda. Now, if you want my opinion, I think on who we could see, it could definitely be T'Challa's son, or hear me out, and this is a big hear me out. It could be a younger version, but what if it's Shuri and T'Challa's dad when he was still Black Panther? He comes from a different Wakanda. Like, here's the thing: Marvel
King
Rivals
T'Chaka, right?
pitch it. Yeah, King T'Chaka. Like, what if like Marvel Rivals pitched this question? It's still T'Challa in that universe who's the Black Panther, but in that universe, Wakanda is galactic. They employ the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Hmm.
So, I mean, like infinite possibilities there, but I think it would be very interesting. I don't think it's disrespectful to Chadwick's memory. I don't think he would want the vision of a character like the one he played, at least in my opinion, to never resurface or never be attempted again because of the performance he gave. I don't believe that was the kind of person Chadwick was.
No, it's definitely not.
But I can say I don't think it makes it pointless. I think it would make it, in fact, I think it'd be crazy cool to see two Black Panthers on the field at the same time between T'Chaka's brawn and bravery and Shuri's sheer genius. I mean, you talk about a dynamic duo. But beyond that, I think so long as it's done with tact and taste, I don't think there would be a problem whatsoever with recasting T'Challa.
Right. So here's another thing I want to bring up with this subject before we move on. So I would understand why people would be mad if they did it, because think about it, man. Look at all the historic black figures that um, Chadwick Boseman played. I mean, we got Jackie Robinson, we got James Brown, we got Thurgood Marshall, we got T'Challa. He's played so many people who are iconic in the African American community that he's took a image. He's proud. He was proud of who he was, and he showed that by playing these super iconic people. Like throughout history, and he was very open about being a proud black man and showing that. And that's why him being Black Panther was so powerful, because he showed that love and that affectionate side towards his ethnicity and his culture and his ancestors through the Black Panther. And recasting him, it almost feels sacrilegious, or it almost feels like a sin, because of how big of an icon that he created with his iteration of the Black Panther. Um, Now my thing is like Mikey said, he wouldn't be against, you know, like he wouldn't be for keeping T'Challa away from the big screen because of what he has done with the character. Um, but I that's what I've been saying even before Wakanda Forever came out. I think that he would want them to recast the role to somebody, but make sure that that somebody knows the power that they are holding, becoming such an iconic and such an impactful character. They gotta hold the standard of playing the Black Panther to a new high, because they're not just playing a superhero, they're playing a king. The king of a proud African, community and African country, that they gotta show that passion in the character, and they gotta show that it's not just to be a Marvel superhero or be the Black Panther, but be a figure in their community. You know what I mean? And I know I'm getting a little like political, not political, but whatever, however you
I
want to
get
say it.
what you're saying.
But it's just being the Black Panther is not like being Blade. Blade, yes, Blade's cool and he's an iconic character, but Blade wasn't as big as a. Yes, it's an African American superhero who literally saved Marvel from bankruptcy. But people seem to forget that. People look at Black Panther as the first black superhero who meant something to them. Yes, like I said, there'll be those people who bring up Blade or Static Shock even, or Spawn, anybody like that. But we, Black Panther was the first time in a big studio like this. I mean, yes, Blade was Marvel, but in a as big as the MCU has been, he was the first African American, not first African American superhero. I'm not going to forget the Falcon, but we're going to like he was the most impactful, the most meaningful. He gave that philosophy while still being badass. He represented being the king of this country and all about being for its people. So if they do recast him, I hope they do it right, and I hope they have somebody who gives as much passion into their art as much as Chadwick does. All right, does anybody else got anything to say on that? I know I went on a little bit on that one, but he's my
No,
No,
you're
character.
good.
He's
No,
my
you're good.
no,
he's
you're
No,
fine.
you covered it
I
pretty
think
good.
it's necessary. I think it's necessary to have some reverence, especially not just as a fan, but as an actor, for it's necessary to have reverence as a fan and an actor for a character that represents an already incredibly proud culture.
right.
I understand it's oh, but Mikey, some racist somewhere might say, Wakanda's not real. No, but Africa is, and so is pride.
And
With that,
the people that movie represented are very real. Like that's what people don't get. People see, like you said, Mikey. People look at Wakanda and it's a it's a fake country. It's not even real. But the thing is that culture is real. They didn't make it up for a movie. Sorry for taking your limelight, bro.
No,
no, you're fine. Something I was going to point out was, it's really kind of just backing up what you just said as far as people saying, it's not real. Luke Cage isn't real either, but you know where he's from?
Harlem.
Harlem. Luke Cage's entire character is built on making mean streets nicer
Yeah.
for people to live their lives and be comfortable and be happy and be safe.
Right.
He's villainized by a lot of less than pleasant characters, but Luke Cage is a genuine man. He's a Christian man. He's a good man. But that's just another example I could give. I don't believe there's anybody out there with a real horse in any kind of race to actually argue this point that we have made for them, even though it's a weak point and it doesn't really matter and people stink regardless. But like, that's it all just reinforces the fact that there's nothing wrong with looking at this character or an actor who might play this character from whatever lens and thinking to ourselves, yeah, no, it should be treated with respect. It should be.
And
listen, I'll go ahead and say two real quick. Sorry.
oh, you're good.
Um, this is definitely something that's hard as is because from what I heard, not longer after they said that Robert Downey Jr. was coming back, they already tried to reach out to big time A-lister to take up this mantle, but he rejected it because of just how big those shoes were to fill. And to try to take on something like Black Panther and try to fill in Chadwick Boseman's shoes. So it's definitely going to be hard for him to find. And that's the reason why we throw out the idea of let's go this route. So that way we don't even have to worry about finding someone to fill these shoes because it creates kind of like a nice, to me, the way I see it, it creates a kind of a nice curve around this problem because we are casting a Black Panther. His name is T'Challa, but it's the son, so,
Right.
it's not as big of shoes to fill because no one's really in those shoes right now.
Right. Now I will say the last thing I will say about this is well, two things. First of all, no matter who they cast, in my opinion, nobody will ever be better than Chadwick Boseman. And I'm not saying actor wise, I'm just saying for the character itself. because to me, no one has given that much, like, connection, like the power that he put into that role, the love that he put into that role is unbeatable. And I'm like I said, just for that role, for him, he gave enough passion to that role to make it as special as it is. Now, there's a couple actors I think that would be great as T'Challa. And I'm thinking of one, I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, but he would be perfect to play an older version of the Sun. So we'll have to see what they do. But my next and last thing to say is I do know that Denzel Washington will be in Black Panther 3 because it is known to be one of, if not his last film. And he's already said that Ryan Coogler has reached out to him and he will be in Black Panther 3. So whoever it is definitely going to have to keep up with Denzel Washington, but I'm excited to see where they go with it. With as if the rest as same with the rest of the MCU. I'm just excited to see where they go from here. And honestly, I want to see how long they can go. I mean, I know the next phase after Secret Wars is the Mutant Saga. So, you know, we got a whole lot of shit to dive into with the X-Men, and I'm super stoked about that. But to me, it looks like the MCU is going to be around for a while. So, we got plenty of time to talk about this shit. Anybody else got anything to say?
Yes.
I do, and it's this. I really doubt any kind of A-lister would be listening to this as it's posted. But I will say, as a general statement, easier said than done. Let me get that out the way. Easier said than done for me to say this, but I would try not to view this as filling someone's shoes.
No.
Because the fact of the matter is, those are not your shoes, no matter how you look at it. But you don't need to fill that person's shoes. There will always be naysayers. There will always be people who say, you're not this guy. You're not meant for this. And to that, so what? Are they trying? Are they doing what you have been given the opportunity to do? No. Give it the best you can. Give this role, your life, whatever you dedicate yourself to, the best gone to college or couldn't make the cut try you can. You might as well. It's an opportunity. Don't waste it. And when it comes to being King of Wakanda, approach it with the same royalty and grace as T'Challa, King of Wakanda, Chadwick Boseman, and all of his supporting actors and everyone else who played a role in that movie would. They'll support you. I have reason to believe that they are good people. You'll do just fine.
Amen. All right, so on to the last topic of the night, and I'm gonna let Ridge take over a little bit on this. We kind of mentioned it last episode with Apple and talks of possibly buying Disney. So Ridge, go ahead and take the reins on this, brother.
All right, so let's rewind time a little bit with this one, okay?
All right.
This all started back in 2023. Bob Iger had done an interview with who I don't remember, okay? There's going to be a lot of who's I don't remembers and a lot of jumping around in this thing, okay? And in that interview, he was talking about Disney, obviously, and pretty much he had said something to make it sound like Disney possibly would have a for sale sign on it. Now, since then, we haven't heard much on it, and now I'm not 100% on it, but it's still very much a possibility. Okay? So, a lot of different places you can look it up, and we'll mention it, or I'll try to remember to mention the two sources I used at the end. Have talked about it, and the best option of someone to buy Disney would be Apple. Well, first off, why Apple, I guess? Well, Apple's had a really deep connection with Disney. Going back many years ago, Steve Jobs worked for Pixar. He was one of the main people in the group that started Pixar.
Right.
So he already kind of worked with Disney. Well, not at the time. It was still under Pixar was its own banner at the time. It would go on to join Disney, but Steve Jobs also used to sit on the board for Disney, like the big head honcho board. He sat there with them, right?
Right.
And was a part of Disney. Also, Bob Iger used to sit on Apple's board. So they've kind of already been in each other's system. So they kind of already have that bond going, right?
Right.
The next thing to look at is, okay, so if Apple was to buy Disney, which Disney in of itself can be known as a juggernaut, right? Could they afford Disney, right? And so I went and looked it up, and Disney's worth right now is $200.65 billion. Apple, Apple, however, is worth $3.87 trillion.
Jesus Christ.
Let me put this into perspective for you. 1,000 billion equals 1 trillion. So Apple could buy Disney close to 15 times over if they wanted to.
Right.
So now that we know how much it costs for them and how this is pocket change, why would they do it? What are the benefits that they would reap from it? What would Disney get out of it? All right, so let's look at one of the main things that Disney's known for, and that's their entertainment. Apple would reap the benefits of getting their studio and their entertainment in the palm of their hands. So that way they don't have to worry about their entertainment as much or creating content to as high as a level because they're not at, Apple TV and Apple entertainment side isn't as well known as, like, let's say Netflix, Paramount, Universal, these other studios, right?
Right.
So if they had Disney underneath their belt, they have one of the big time players in the studio game to be able to source their material through, right?
True.
Also, Disney would benefit from it because Apple is dedicated to throwing down a lot of money into their entertainment. If I'm not mistaken, they said back in 2023 that Apple is so dedicated towards their movies, they're willing to put down $1 billion
Jeez.
towards a movie. And I went and looked it up, and the top 15 movies, if I'm not mistaken, 12 out of the 15 movies, the top budgets were Disney's.
Yeah.
Of course, you had Avengers Endgame
Yeah.
and Infinity War. You had Avatar.
Inside Out. Too, right?
No, it made $1 billion, but it didn't cost a lot. What I'm saying is it cost a lot, right?
Okay, I got you.
Right. This is how much it costs to make these movies.
Right.
Star Wars is under that banner.
Right.
A good couple of their projects were underneath there. But the slight downside that you'll look at, though, too, is that, like Lucasfilms and like the Marvels, at least, some of the higher worth, budgeted movies that Disney has made hasn't had success neither. But at the same time, if they had that kind of money, they could afford to get in whoever they want at director and writer a lot easier, right? Get in the actors and actresses that they want a lot easier. and potentially be able to throw enough money to get you know who kicked on out of Lucasfilms.
I'd be with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all would be if we could get her kicked out.
Yeah.
So, also, another thing that would be beneficiary for, let's say, just Marvel, right, is that they would be able to possibly say to Sony, name your price for Spider-Man and everything Spider-Man related. Okay, let's say they just say $6 billion. Okay, here you go. That's pocket change to us. We have it sitting in cash.
Right.
Here you go. Go Universal. Say, hey, how much for anything that y'all have, whether it's studio related or in the parks related? How much will it cost to get all of that underneath our banner again? They name their price. Okay, here you go. And what do you know? Marvel has everything underneath their own banner again. Now take it to the parks. We'll get into the parks here shortly, but what that would help Disney out with parks and all that. But the main focus right there was just to show you what the studios would get, right?
Right.
Another thing that you got to think about is that over 45% of Disney's consumers are under the age of 18. What's that got to do with this? Well, these are the kids that obviously ain't paying for their trips to Disney to go see their Disney movie or whatever. But they're also the eyes that are going to be seeing it a lot more and seeing the new iPhone and they're going to get more hands-on with it, right? All these kids will be grown up seeing the product, so they'll have a potential that every time the new 18-year-old goes to buy a phone, they'll be more so probably leaning towards wanting to get an iPhone because they remember seeing the iPhone from their favorite Disney movie or seeing the iPhone in the parks or a tablet in the parks because they seen some maintenance guy walking through using a tablet in a park. Who knows, right?
Right.
So that's another thing. Another beneficial thing for Apple with their product wise. Let's say, iPhones, they're pretty much the same things. Always, right?
Yeah.
Apple hasn't made that big of a splash with anything for a hot minute, right? I mean, we've gotten the watch, we've gotten the earbuds, sure, but since then, they're just re-updating them with a couple of things here and there. Nothing too huge. But let's say Disney's underneath their belt now, right? And let's say just for the sake of it, you decide to go on a splurge and go to the Apple store to buy your next brand new iPhone. You walk in, you're looking at the plain ones that are front and center, as always, and it's also front and center because it's the brand new thing, but you're not really paying attention to everything because everything normally looks the same in these stores. We've all walked by them in the mall or, out on the side of the street, wherever we walk by it and it always looks the same, right? So we're looking, tech guy comes up to us. Hey, can I help you out with anything? Yeah, I'm just looking at the new iPhone. Tell me about it and whatever. So I tell you everything and I say, now, are you a fan of Disney? Yeah. Okay, let me narrow it down some more. Are you a fan of Marvel? Yeah. What's your favorite character? And let's say your favorite character is Iron Man. Okay, so your favorite character is Iron Man. Okay, well, come with me over here to this table. They take you over to this table that's themed to a street in New York City, right? And there is a tower that has a shit ton of different phones, displayed all around, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that tower is the Avengers Tower, Stark Tower, whichever one you want to call it that, right?
Correct.
And the one front and center that you look at is the all new Iron Man edition of the iPhone.
See, that's what I was looking
And
into. Is like they would, like if they like partnered up or Apple bought Disney, they'd be able to do like the Iron Man themed iPhone or like Captain America. Like they'd be able to theme the iPhones after like Disney properties.
right, yeah. And
Right.
so let's say you go to grab that iPhone, and the feeling of it is the same as the feeling of an Iron Man suit. It's made out of titanium or whatever. It feels different because it feels like Iron Man materials. It has that. You can get it in different You can get it to look like the different suits, different marked suits, like 1 through 1,001 or whatever the number.
Right.
But let's say just the
No,
one that you're looking at.
Tell me Siri versus Jarvis, and I've heard everything I need to.
Yeah. It's like have Jarvis instead of Siri. That would be cool too.
Well, let me get there.
We'll have
So
Jarvis.
let's just say you're looking at the classic gold and red iPhone, right? It's the classic Iron Man that we all know. That's normally on the front covers, right?
Right.
And you open it up, and lo and behold, the screen itself looks like the screen that you've seen Iron Man or Tony Stark have for his computers. You know, that futuristic looking stuff, you know, that dark blues with the light up apps and everything. It looks a lot different, right?
Right.
And the tech guy says, watch this, hits the button for Siri, and instead of saying, hey Siri, he says, hey Jarvis. And what do you know? Jarvis pops up as your Siri now.
That would be sick.
I mean, wouldn't it? And what if there was a little new sensor that was in place of one of the cameras, let's just say, right?
Right.
And for a small fee, you could buy let's just say there's different sizes, but we'll say the 18-inch monitor, right? There's an 18-inch monitor and a little sensor that's on the table, right?
Okay.
If you put the little sensor that's on your phone on top of that sensor, all of a sudden it pops up a 3D version of your screen, pretty much exactly the way you've seen it in the Iron Man movies of his computers. You could see the exact layout like that, but you gotta pay. You obviously gotta pay the extra price, right?
Right.
But at the same time, let's say you get the Star Wars. You're more so a Star Wars fan, and you want the Star Wars collection. Well, you can still get that monitor and that sensor, but instead of having it pop up like a screen like that, what you can do then is it will pop up in that screen still, the 3D holographic looking thing, and it can be a holograph of you sending a face message to somebody. And somebody could send it right back to you, and it would look like the holograms in Star Wars. And that could be a new little thing that they added on.
That would be nuts.
And they would obviously have the whole collection of all of this in their phones, in their watches, their iPads, their laptops, and everybody's going to go nuts over it. And obviously, too, by the way, if you're not a fan of those, they have all their other Disney IP. So you could get just Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse. You get Pirates of the Caribbean. It would do cool different features too, you know.
Any of the princesses, anything.
Right. It's just whatever Disney. It's Disney editions of everything now, because they have Disney in their library now,
right?
And can just use it however they please,
and they can
however Disney pleases too.
They could also combine Disney TV, Apple Plus with Disney Plus.
Right. Well, that's the entertainment side, right? Is that they can combine all their entertainment. And now, hey, by the way, you remember how we was talking about how you have HBO Max, Disney Plus, and ESPN all in one spot right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
go ahead and add Apple in there too because Apple's a part of it now, right?
True.
So it's beneficial on every side right there. All right, so let's look at my or one more so in my favorite spots, and that's the parks. In the Disney parks, obviously you would get to see, the iPhone. Maintenance people would be able to use tablets. So that way, if they're in one spot troubleshooting something, they can send it to their boss that's on the other side of Disney World, right? He could be let's say he's at Animal Kingdom working on something and you're at Magic Kingdom. He can easily send you something because he has the tablet right there in his hand, right?
Correct.
You could also test your new products at the Disney parks. Let's say Apple releases their Apple Car, right? We've seen the prototypes of it. We've seen the art of it. Let's say they want to release it. They can test it out in the Disney parks first, and well, not obviously inside the parks itself, but
Right.
it can act as an Uber for Disney
True.
just to test out the product to see how well it actually does or not, right?
Yeah.
So obviously their benefits would come in the form of their product being placed in the parks, whether it's, the iPhone, the tablets, whatever. Also, the Magic Bands now are more so compatible with your Apple Watch because also the little sensors inside there are also ran through Apple. So
Yeah.
everything's running through Apple, right?
Correct.
The only downside, and this is the only downside I can think of in total too, is the people that don't have Apple would be at a disadvantage whenever it comes to certain things in the park because there might be something interactive only through your iPhone, right?
True.
Or you might have to pay an X amount more to get your Magic Band now because you don't have an Apple Watch. So you can't just use your Apple Watch now. Meanwhile, you got people with their Apple Watches that can just use that as their Magic Band now. So that's the only downside. Now the other upsides, let's get back to that, is for Disney, they have a lot more money at hand to update rides, to build new rides, or to build a fifth gate. And bought if they've bought everything that's Marvel related, let's say they finally want something Marvel related at Disney World.
True. Yeah.
Well, the reason why they can't right now is because, Marvel is sitting at Universal Studios. There's a contract.
Right.
Let's just say that contract gets bought out.
Yeah.
So we already know that the villains land is not going to be a fifth gate. Even though everybody wanted it to be, it's not. It's in the name. It's a land. Okay? That's the main thing. But now that we have everything Marvel related and we can use Marvel, we can open up a fifth gate dedicated to just strictly Marvel.
You're talking about
You can have
You're talking about a whole nother park, just Marvel.
just a whole nother park of strictly Marvel related shit in it.
They could really do that. Without,
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Like different parts of the park, like Asgard, Wakanda, New York
Mm-hmm.
City, different shit like that. Like that'd be cool. I mean,
Yeah.
if they want to bring Doom into it, they can make it Latveria. I mean,
Absolutely. They could literally dive into everything that way.
and imagine the big centerpiece. Like think about Hollywood Studios. It's either the theater, the Mickey and Minnie ride is, or the Tower of Terror. Then you had the tree at Animal Kingdom. Then you got the castle at Magic Kingdom. They could have like Odin's castle or something like that. You know what I mean? Like
Hell, you could have Stark Tower
yeah,
be the centerpiece.
they'd have so many opportunities, or they could just have like the Avengers headquarters.
Right, and it would be just such an immersive place because you could also dive into, the multiverse if you wanted to, and that explains how you get from place to place as you're traveling through the multiverse because we're in a different universe than the 616. And let's say there's a ride that wants to take you into 616, so you got to get there somehow. Why not multiverse travel, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it'd be a dream come true, obviously, for Marvel fans
Right.
if they did that. I mean, they don't have to, but we're just throwing it out there, right?
That'd be big, though. That'd be huge.
Yeah, I mean, and think of it this way too. I want you to do something for me, Slater.
Right. Okay.
Google search how much Epic Universe cost.
Okay. Oh, I can't spell.
Mikey, how much you think it costs before he tells us?
Okay.
What is it? Epic Universe?
Epic Universe, the new park coming to Universal Studios.
New park, Universal Studios. I'm gonna say new park. Ooh, only park. All right. I'm gonna say, oh no, $350 million.
Oh,
Okay. Caleb?
I honestly have no clue, man. I don't. Yeah,
Just throw out a random number.
I'm gonna say, could it be anywhere around 1.8 billion?
Slater?
Caleb's the closest. It's taken $1 billion to
Yeah,
make the park.
I must be thinking in 2000s money.
Probably.
Now, do y'all remember what I said at the beginning on how much Apple has?
True. Yeah.
Do you remember how much Disney has?
Yeah.
And then look at how much it costs to build Epic Universe. That's pocket change to them.
Yeah.
They could easily build a nice immersive universe with that. Now, like I said, you'd be closing down the Marvel Superhero Island in Universal or Islands of Adventure Universal Studios. Same format. You get the picture. Which would open up that acreage. And I'm also thinking about, if we also close down Toontown, there is a big green roller coaster right there.
Yeah.
Slater, do you know where I'm going at with this?
Take that roller coaster and put it in the Disney.
No. You just leave that coaster right there. And leave it green.
Okay.
You might put a little different paint on the rails of it.
Are you talking about doing
But
a
here-
Shrek roller coaster?
No. There's already a Shrek ride or Shrek area
Land?
there.
What are you thinking then?
I'm thinking, and this is definitely, it's out there, but and we can get into it more on our next episode. But I'm thinking you put in a Defying Gravity coaster right there.
Do a Land of Oz. That would be
A
fire.
Land of Oz and Wicked right there. You have the giant green roller coaster already.
Yeah.
And it launches you out, and hear me out, whenever you go to launch out, you hear It's Me.
That
The
would
part
be
of the
awesome.
song where It's Me is whenever you launch out, and it finishes up the song while you're in the air.
That would be sick. I'm not gonna lie. That would be phenomenal.
And then, the whole theming around it is the Emerald City.
That would be pretty big.
And you're just saving the green already right there because, it's all green.
Yeah.
And then, scooch on over a little bit down to Hacksaw Falls in Toontown. You could turn that into shiz
Yeah. You
and
could.
create a boat ride out of that.
That's a bit.
Again, that we'll get into that later, but I don't know why, but I had thought about that for a hot minute.
That'd be
And we can
cool.
come back to it later, but yeah.
Well,
So, I mean, like I said, it'd be so to go back to the Apple Disney thing, right? It's going to be, if it happened, it'd be beneficial for everybody, right?
right.
The only other thing that I forgot to mention is why would Disney sell? And the easy answer, that's simple, is so that way that everybody's on the board, every higher up in Disney would just become that much more richer, right?
Yeah.
More richer ain't a correct terminology right there, but they would make more money off of selling Disney, right?
So just to be
And
short
there's
money.
right, and there's still a chance of it. Don't get me wrong, right? Because Bob Iger, as far as we know, hasn't settled on a CEO,
right.
so that's still a possibility. And as far as I know, they are still looking at selling ABC off. So
Yeah.
I
I'm not
mean,
surprised by that.
if they're selling off some things and trying to make it look more attractive, they could be putting a for sale sign on it and actually selling it off. And the only logical people, I mean, you can say Amazon, and uh, Amazon's about the only other name that I can think that's in the entertainment area, but still, that it wouldn't be the same, right? It wouldn't be nearly if Apple was to do it, right? They've already worked together. They already have a bond. So it's going to be an easier route.
Yeah.
If it was to happen, that's the easiest way.
I agree.
So, but that's what I got on it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, hell, you gave us a lot of good information, and honestly, you did your homework on it, and it makes a lot of sense.
Now, well, thank you for saying that I did my homework on it. Uh, the people that I got my information from was the John Campea show and DSNY Newscast. Both of them are on YouTube. They got their information from other sources as well. So just do yourself a favor if you want, and if you are interested in it more so and want a better explanation of what I just went through, go find their shows on it. All you gotta do is search those shows and then type into Apple to buy Disney, and it'll pop up for you.
Word. Well, I mean,
Other than that,
I could see it being a big thing for both of them in a positive way. Honestly, it's a big why not, you know. I can see them
yeah,
doing it.
it's definitely something to think on. Not only for them, but as a fan of the product, would you want to see someone like Apple grab a hold of Disney? Would you want to see them, be the ones in charge of your Marvel Cinematic Universe, pretty much, and over your Lucasfilms, and your parks?
I mean, fundage wise, we could always use more fundage because they definitely, been slacking on a lot of the CGI lately. But
You gotta look at to me with that, it's not necessarily because the fundings weren't there. It was because they just didn't have their shit together on it.
right,
Because like I said earlier, you had 12 out of the 15 top 15 movies beat Disney movies, and some of them were flops.
right,
But they had a high budget, obviously, but they just didn't know how to use it.
yeah. I mean, either way, I think it's a great idea. I could see it going either way, but that's just one of those things that we have to see if it even happens.
If it does happen, I don't think it'll be anytime soon. I think it'll be
No.
later on down the road, obviously. And if it does happen, I think it'll definitely be beneficial for everybody.
Word. Well, with that topic being done, does anybody else got anything else to say?
Nope. I think we've covered everything.
I don't have anything else to say.
Well, if that's it, then like I said, like we always say, if you enjoyed our podcast and you last this long, we appreciate you and we love you. If you enjoyed our content and you're not subscribed, please do subscribe. Hit the
Yeah, hit that bell.
hit the notification bell so you can know when we post.
Share with your friends.
Spread the word, y'all.
Share us out with your friends, Facebook, Twitter, Truth. We don't care what you spread us on, just spread us, man.
Take their phones and just
Lemon 8.
subscribe either way.
But if that's it, I hope everybody had a great week. I hope we see you next week. Peace out, guys.
Bye-bye.